Hi, I'm Pete Seligman, Managing Director of SRO Technology. I'm excited to present our new podcast, Measure Up, brought to you by our team to talk about their favourite topic, industrial measurement. We're working hard this year to bring the Ramsey product range back to the market. Ramsey's been around for a long time, longer than SRO and a lot longer than any of us. And so we're proud to be the custodians of this great brand for the next phase of its journey. And what better way to bring you along for the ride than to give you a behind-the-scenes look via this season of our new podcast. Let's go and have a look. In this episode, I speak to Kayla Worrall. She's our supply chain manager in the Ramsey team. She's been with SRO Technology for over 5 years, and in that time has fulfilled a range of roles, which has given her really good insight into how our team works, how our customers work, and what their needs are. In the last 6 months, she's had to lean heavily into re-establishing the supply chain for the Ramsey products. And that is a complex process, particularly when that supply chain has been around for a long time and has global reach. So it's a great opportunity for us to chat to her today about what that last 6 months has been like, the challenges she's faced, and what she's looking forward to. Thank you very much for joining us on what is going to be our first recorded episode. I don't know which order it's going to come in, but you're very brave to be our first guinea pig.
No problem.
How do you feel about being one of the first people to record in our new podcast?
A bit nervous. Usually I like watching people do their reels first so that I can learn from it. But first in, I'm also happy to do that and
Cool.
get my hands in.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to do that. I know that you've got a very busy workshop that we've had to shut down for this. So everyone's kind of cleared out for us to make it a bit quieter, but we thought we'd take the opportunity to show everyone what's happening down here too.
Yep.
Where I wanted to start was actually more with you, because you've had like a really interesting journey with SRO over the last few years.
Yep.
And so tell us a bit about that. Like, where did you start?
How
did you first come into the company, all that sort of thing?
Absolutely, yeah. It's definitely a story I like to go through. I started just over 5 years ago as the service coordinator. Started in a really small office with a handful of us, one car garage, and then slowly kept saying yes to a bunch of different things. Ended up going into the key accounts role. The key accounts role was short-lived because I kept saying yes to other things and it moved on to the next. I guess my main point in my role is I really enjoy the interactions with the customers and finding solutions. So like with the techs, even when I was a service coordinator, I wanted to go out onto site. I said, take me out to site. I want to lug rolls, see what you do. And that opened my eyes massively to also what our techs are doing, but some of the sites and the sizes of them. And that was just here in Queensland and New South Wales. And then from there, we got NMIS, decided to dip my toes in there as well. So that's when I moved into that operations manager role and just started working through that for our NYs and SRO team for production and supply and our service coordinators. From there, we got Ramsey, and I was the first person to kind of put my hand up and say, I really want to be in this space and own it. So I put my hand up and we slowly moved me to that supply chain manager role where I'm purely focused on the production supply for Ramsey and dynamic for the company. So
one of the great things about that journey is the fact that you kept on putting your hand up and had a chance to kind of see lots of different aspects of the business, but also see lots of different challenges that the customers face.
Yes.
And so I feel really confident that you're in a good position to understand what that means the customers are going to need from us from a supply chain perspective.
Absolutely. When I was told about Ramsey, I worked through COVID with everyone. The number one thing I disliked doing was having to tell all of these customers who had open orders with us for Orotronics and TMD systems that we couldn't get an answer, we couldn't get things to them, and they just wanted these products. We couldn't find something that was equal to, and that was really challenging because it was a point of constantly providing new dates and not being able to fully commit to them. So when I was brought into the Ramsey umbrella, the first thing I said in the meeting was I want the Orotronics back and back ASAP, and that's been our number one priority since bringing it back online.
Awesome. All right, well, let's head upstairs and then we can have a further chat.
Perfect.
All right, well, we've made it upstairs. To kick things off, why don't we kind of go back to when we first secured the the product range for Ramsey. Talk me through kind of your feeling those first 3 months. Like, what were the main things that were on your radar, and kind of how were you dealing with those?
Yeah, definitely for the first 3 months. I mean, I was ready to get my hands on the IP and start pulling it apart and seeing which products we want to bring on. I mean, even just identifying the products that we've purchased that I've never even seen before. And just with the global, I guess, customer base that comes with it, all of these products are coming out of the woodworks. But we want to make sure that first and foremost, we're really putting our focus on those big products that we've felt the hurt with during the, I guess, discontinuation.
Yeah.
Going through the IP and just, getting stock lists and product lists and wanting to do all of it all at once, but not being able to do all of it at once.
It's so, because I guess we at SRO have been a customer to that product range for a long time now. I mean, over 40 years as a company, we've been providing services around that product range. You suddenly then get on the other side of the equation and you've got your hands on the products and the supply chain and all that sort of stuff. You want to just flip the switch and make it all happen at once.
Yeah.
But I guess as I guess we anticipated, but probably as we then learnt over the last few months, it's definitely not like turning on a light bulb, right? Like, how's your experience been in trying to balance your own internal kind of debate within yourself around, I really want to turn everything back on, but I know I need to do it one step at a time. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, it's definitely been a challenge. I've even found, like, just with our internal staff, our technicians, everyone who knows this brand and the products, they're also coming to me with what they want to turn on quickly. And some things I was expecting to be able to turn on faster, really quick solution. Others I knew it might have taken a bit more time, but a lot of these things were factoring in the supply chain, and that relationship was switched off sooner than we purchased the product line. So we're reaching out to people all over the globe to kind of work out where they played a part in the production of these products and just trying to get the supply chain on and running.
Yeah.
And then also trying to note where we want improvements, but we just want to get the products that we know are good and work. We want them to be out in the field and back in production, and then we can start adding in our improvements and new versions and things like that. That's definitely been a big one, but
because I mean, in some of these circumstances, because, there's quite a few products in the range. Like, obviously, everyone knows well the belt scale range and the TMD range, and some of the kind of key products in the Proline range, but there's a lot of other products on the list, right? And some of these supply chains had been switched off maybe 18 months before, right? So as Thermo was ramping down the product range, and so some of them are quite dormant for us to then go and reignite, is kind of taking some time. What was one thing that you were anticipating might be relatively easy to get done that's actually turned out to be harder than you thought it was going to be?
So when we first had our, project meeting before it was a department, we had a bit of a plan of attack, and Matt, our CTO, he was going to look after the Orotronics and the flexes, and I put my hand up and I was like, I'll get the Proline sorted. I'll get that sorted, and it'll be pretty straightforward. They're very standard products, and it's turned out to be the more difficult product line to get turned on. I've needed the whole team's help to try and track down even just component suppliers, not even the full product completion. So we're getting there, and we're pretty happy with where we're at, and we've started to place some orders to start assembling and building those and bringing them in the new year. But that was definitely one that I thought was going to be straightforward, turn it on. And
because you look from the outside in, you go, well, that's a really complex product, so surely that's going to be hard. That's a really simple product, so surely supply chain for that is going to be simple, right? But I guess if you think about the way in which the Ramsey range has been managed over decades, it really is not only a product that's available globally, but it's been managed and produced globally, right? So actually there are so many different moving parts across so many different jurisdictions that it really is a little bit of a puzzle to then work out how, with a new owner in SRO Technology, we can then have the interactions, the appropriate interactions with all of those suppliers to make sure we're then kind of stitching it back so then it can work for us.
Yeah, the supply chain web and just the relationship web that we've come in contact with. I mean, going from Australian times and things like that, we're factoring in later night calls overseas or first thing in the morning, which is really exciting because we're breaking into these different areas that we would have never spoken to or spoken to for a long time. So that's been really good. But even just learning from some of these relationships, some key information that isn't even necessarily on our IP. It's very much knowledge that people have held and worked with on the product line for the manufacturers and suppliers. And they're able to add a whole other piece of the puzzle that we otherwise wouldn't have.
One of the interesting things that I think kind of from an SRO Technology perspective, which is a name that is relatively well known in the Australian market, but might not be known in other global markets, right? And so there will be people in our now global market that know Ramsey well, and SRO Technology is new to them. I feel like that said, we actually have a lot of people in our team who have been working with this product range for a long time, right?
Yeah.
And it's been great to see how all of those relationships, almost family-like relationships, have come back to the surface. People in our team that have a long Ramsey history who then know people in North America or through kind of the subcontinent or out into Europe, where all those relationships are coming back to the fore. What's it been like for you to kind of witness kind of all of those relationship networks turn back on again?
It's been really eye-opening just how big this is. I've got the timeline on my wall in my office where I've started from the very beginning and tracked down some of the history, and I've only gotten to, I think, 94, 96. But just I was in awe of just how much was involved in the progression of this product to when we've had it now, like the amount of people and hands that have been involved in Ramsey when it first began and continued on. It's huge. And like you said, we're speaking to people who have history with Ramsey where they might have parents who worked for the original Ramsey company, or stories of when they were kids, they were running around the Ramsey offices globally. And it has definitely broadened, like it's a very broad web that we're working with. And I'm definitely making notes where I can when I hear those stories so that I can loop it in and make a bit more of that unofficial picture of the timeline and who played a part.
It feels like it's more than just a brand and a product range, right? Like there's actually such a history in it that there's almost something deeper than that which is kind of cool, right? Like it's not just as simple as, we've got this product and we're going to get it produced and then, ship it off to these customers. It's like there's a real legacy there that we're taking on.
Yeah, just to think how big of a company and different regions and offices, just getting your head around, even us like sitting here, like the amount of time and effort we're putting into some of these things, it would be triple over the period that Ramsey was running. So to know how many people have played a part is just, eye-opening.
And so to flip the coin, like over the last kind of 6 months, we've been through like quite a journey pulling all these pieces of the puzzle back together again, both when it comes to the IP and the product range and also supply chain and relationships and also the distribution network. Like there's lots of moving parts. Was there anything that kind of surprised you in how quickly it kind of turned on or came to fruition?
Yeah, I would say, for one, I mean, Jeff, everyone who knows Jeff, whether it was announced external or not, Jeff was going to sell things as quickly as he could. And that's exactly what we all know about Jeff. So that took off quite quickly, and he's definitely sold some things that we've pulled together. But yeah, some of the things, especially when we announced our purchase of the Ramsey IP, was just the amount of international inquiries, so many coming in. I was used to dealing with spare parts orders that were small, 1 or 2 items. And now we're looking at some of the biggest orders we've ever placed on these for 100, 150. Like it's just, it's incredibly surprising. So we've definitely had to bolster our team for that as well, and bring in some help to
And you've got some
cover
new
that
people
off.
in your team as well that have come on board in the last couple of months as we're starting to make sure that we're right-sized for that volume as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And every single week things could shift as well. So we've definitely been trying to bring in all of the resourcing we can get and make sure we're also being efficient as possible. But with every product comes a new potential assembly process or requirement for QC and things like that. So we're just going with the flow and trying to balance that all out, but make sure that we're holding that quality while we're pushing these products out and not rushing through things. So definitely a point is, we've been really struggling with having to say no to these customers.
It's the hardest thing, isn't it, right? When someone says they really want a product and you know that like there might be a way to get it to them, but actually right now you just can't move that quickly in order to make sure you're maintaining that quality.
Yeah.
Saying no is tough, right? And
It's
difficult for the team because they all want to do what they can for the customer base as well, right?
Yeah. And I guess like it's something that, I mean, I valued like the relationships I have with customers over the years that I've been here in every single role. It's been a huge part in what I enjoy, which is being able to give people solutions, being able to give them a yes, we can make that work. So it's definitely been a shift, and we have to accept it. Like it's a risk we are currently at. We're not going to meet everyone's deadlines, but yeah, definitely more difficult. And even to this day, we're getting some opportunities come through that might pull our direction elsewhere. And we're like, oh, we could maybe make this work. And we've got to reel ourselves back in and go, is this our main focus? And there's some things where it has pulled our focus and we've been able to make that happen sooner, which has been really good. And that's why we want our customers to be communicating to us when they want certain products and things like that. But it'll be the other side of they might not get the answer that they're looking for, but we can at least see what we can do, but also keep our main focuses.
And that honest transparency is pretty important, right? Because it's much better to be clear with a customer about whether or not you can perform so they can get on with their job rather than kind of make a promise that you might not quite be able to keep.
Absolutely.
And so, looking to the 6 months ahead, let's not try and look 12 or 18 months ahead, right? Because who knows what happens in that kind of time frame. But over the next 6 months, like what are some of the things? It feels to me, we were having a conversation this morning, it feels to me like in some senses, we're getting relatively close to getting over the hurdle on a couple of things. Like what are some of the things that you're looking forward to over the next 6 months? So
we've definitely got a lot of things underway. It's taken a while for us to, I guess, get up to speed or even acknowledge what we were doing. It was really random, but I was speaking with Stefan Nell, and I was saying it felt like we were kind of walking in circles constantly. But if you look at it from the side, you're actually a spiral moving upwards.
Yeah, I like that.
So yeah, instead of doing circles, you are actually getting somewhere. So recently I've felt like we're getting higher to that point. So we've got 10 of the Orotronic controllers on order with the manufacturer. We don't want to order a large amount until we know that we're happy with the quality and it's everything that we need. So these 10 will come through hopefully within November. We're going to be doing QC testing, everything we need on them. And then the moment we have sign off, I'll be sending an order straight back, and we're going to be doing a big order because I know that the orders are piling in and more are just waiting until there's that availability. And that's the thing I've probably been waiting for most.
So that sounds like quite a tipping point, right? Like sitting here in October, November versus what we'll be looking like in January, February could be light years apart, right? In terms of our ability to deliver on that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's a perfect example as you walked into the office. I was talking to my team about where do we prioritize certain stock to certain people, and at the end of the day, for the most part, it is first in best dressed for these orders and for processing because they are so critical. But the idea is that will hopefully not be an issue in the new year. And there won't be a serious conversation about where we're going to be able to allocate these parts. We're going to have that stock coming through and everyone will be able to get their orders fulfilled.
Supply will catch up with demand effectively. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which is, I mean, when you think about it, we're not even yet 6 months into having bought the product range, right?
Yeah.
So it feels like a lifetime, but actually it's a relatively short period of time. And if by the end of the calendar year we've solved a bunch of those problems, that's only a 9-month time frame going from standing start. So, the team should be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, and sometimes we do have to take a breath and actually remember that because it has been short but very fast. And from our original plans to where we are and what we've progressed in is really exciting, and there has been a lot of work going into that. So we just have to acknowledge and have a look at where we're at, even though it might feel like people are still wanting other things and we're not able to meet everyone's expectations. We just have to acknowledge that we're going above our expectations and goals. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the key message then from a customer standpoint is that, there's a lot of work going on under the surface. We are making progress. They'll start to see some of that come to light over the next few weeks and months. And again, I like your comment from before around getting that feedback loop. Like, we are keen to hear back from the marketplace as to which are the products that are most desirable for them or most under pressure or most kind of urgent. So then we do have the ability to kind of slightly change tack and change focus to make sure we're prioritizing those things that are of most interest to the customers.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, we've already done that, which we're then stoked that we've gotten another product closer to its final, assembly and supply. Yeah, so we definitely want to hear that because some things, they weren't on our list for end of the year and they've slipped in and we've made it work, and we'll continue to do that as well at the end of the day because we do where we can, and where it's available, we want to try and set that up and work with the customers on these things to meet their deadlines as well.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time today.
No problem.
And thank you for being our first guest to record this. You did a great job. I really appreciate it. You did such a good job that I might even ask you back for another episode later. So, but no, thank you very much for your time, Kayla. I really appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks, Pete.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to leave comments below. We're keen to get your feedback and make sure that what you want to see is what we're delivering in future episodes. Also, visit the website, srotechnology.com, if you want to learn more about what we're up to. And remember, keep measuring up.